Awesome. What's up, guys? So, a few things to go over, some exciting stuff on the charts. So, really, the main thing right now that everything's going on in the market and why there's so much volatility, and why I have the S&P 500 up, which is, if you don't know, S&P or SPX, that's what the ticker symbol is. It's basically the stock market. It's what when people say the stock market's down, the stock market's up, they're talking about the SPX. Anyways, fucking this thing right here got a little bit of a wick today because dollar's going down. So what we talk about this a lot. We talk about, what's the relationship between the DXY, which is the dollar index, and the S&P, and then that correlates to Bitcoin. So you can see that yesterday stock market was down. Look at the DXY. And the DXY yesterday was up, today it's down. So whenever the DXY is up, usually the stock market doesn't do good. Whenever the dollar's doing really well, and then whenever the dollar's doing really bad, usually the stock market's doing really good. And we've seen that, and that's the narrative that I've been pushing. And so this is the daily chart. So obviously, yeah, the dollar did really bad, and we had a slight bounce in the stock market. So what's going on with the stock market? Let me try and simplify this chart really quick. And this leads into the whole argument on Bitcoin. And this is why I've been so ahead and figured out, what's really going on with Bitcoin. Is because we're looking at the stock market. So take out all these lines because they're probably confusing you. Alright, but while I'm taking out all these lines, you see this giant wick right here. But you see that for the past few days we've been down. We've been down in the markets. Market's not looking too hot, and we've been in this massive uptrend for weeks now. Been in this massive We've been in this massive uptrend right here, and then obviously we had this breakdown right here. Head and shoulders pattern looks like could possibly be like I talked about before, and then also, like, regardless of whether it's a head and shoulders or not playing out, you definitely have a break of this trading channel right here. So let's see, get rid of all these lines. I was trying to measure it earlier, figure out where exactly it was going. I was making a lot of money shorting it because it was just looking so terrible. So these were just all personal lines that I had set up. And anyways, you get a lot clearer vision now of what's going on. We had this nice uptrend, and that's what we've been seeing all throughout this year. We've been in this nice uptrend. I mean, every once in a while there'd be a little correction, and then we'll continue in this uptrend. But right now, we'll see what happens. The reason everything's so shaky, the reason is because from a technicals perspective, this rising channel, this uptrend, has been broken. And then on October 18th, like we've been talking about on the channel, United States might be defaulting on its debt, which would be huge, or they're going to print more money. I've been talking to a lot of people. I've been in a lot of trade groups, talking to people, seeing what other people think, and from everything I've heard from everybody, it seems like most likely what's going to happen is the United States is just going to print their way out of it one way or another, and then so basically extend the debt ceiling, because if they don't, then they default on their loans, and that's why everybody's all this FUD, so fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Everybody's fearful right now, which is driving the market's uncertainty and why we haven't recovered yet. Anyways, that's caused a lot of volatility in Bitcoin. But because the S&P is looking pretty decent today, a lot better than it was looking yesterday or the day before, Bitcoin's starting to do well. And I really want to bring you your attention. Jeez, that chart is like, there's a lot going on there. We're going to zoom in. Probably the daily chart's not the best way to approach this. We'll look at the 4 hour. And then I'll bring up the touch points because I was talking to a bunch of trading groups, and one of the guys was like, I don't think the trend lines are accurate. So I'll show you guys the touch points. Make sure that you're all good with this. But it's very clear what we're in right now on the 4-hour. So obviously price went up really quickly, really fast, and it was not sustainable to continue going up. So we had a little bit of a consolidation pattern because you have these right here. You have higher lows all throughout. You have this higher lows, but then you have price action, and you're setting a high and then a lower high. So the price is kind of going like this. It's converging. We call that a consolidation pattern. This specific consolidation pattern is called an ascending triangle. So ascending triangles, you have constant lower highs, or as I was, you have lows that are getting higher. You have higher lows. And then you have a horizontal level of resistance. And you see that very clearly. Price action can't get above it. So we've been touching it a few times. We'll see what happens. But it creates this ascending triangle pattern that we're in right now. And with this ascending triangle, and I mean you could slant it this way, but either way, whether it's slanted like this or whether it's slanted like this is really the key level that we're looking at as that horizontal level, because that will set a higher high. But anyways, freaking yeah, I mean, I don't know if these touch points would work or not. I was just looking at that. But either way, it's a consolidation pattern that we're in right now on the 4-hour. We're looking for a breakout to the upside. Target, so our target for the top of it, if we break above it, is 57,873, which we could do tonight. So I just want to talk about the daily chart. And go over that because I like going over the daily chart a lot. The daily chart tells us a lot of information, and we're about to close on it. So right now, if we close on the daily chart, we have this ginormous. I'm gonna take off this indicator so you can see it better. So right here, you have basically a bullish engulfing candlestick. You would want the entire candlestick to be. You'd want the entire candlestick to be a giant candlestick instead of just a wick down here. But this wick also shows an extremely strong reversal. So you have this candle body, then you have this candle wick. This candle wick shows a really strong reversal, and this candle body is entirely engulfing this red candlestick. Why do we have this red candlestick? Stock market, if you saw the last 2 days, has been down. It wasn't down a lot, but it just doesn't happen with the stock market. Usually it's always going up. And like, it's not really the fact that it's like the stock market, but it's also the dollar. And the whole narrative behind the whole thing right now is the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is freaking, with the debt ceiling, they got to figure that out with the Treasury. So they got to raise the debt ceiling or whatever. If they don't do that, then what ends up happening is America defaults on its debt. They're not able to pay bills that need to get paid, and basically going forward, people don't trust America to pay. Just like if you had a house bill or whatever, if you don't pay it, then they don't trust you to pay it. Your credit score essentially gets hit, defaults, goes down, and then you have to pay higher fees for borrowing, and that would obviously cause a lot of turmoil. Higher interest rates are not good on anybody's part. So anyways, that's what we're looking at right now. So this is the daily chart. It closes in an hour 50. If it holds anywhere about these levels that we're at, or if it breaks above bullish engulfing candlestick on the daily, we'll see what the stock market, because the dollar did really bad today. That's really a big reason why both Bitcoin, the stock market are going up. And then when you look at yeah, I mean, that's it. The stock market and Bitcoin are going up because the dollar is doing bad. So we'll see what happens, tomorrow with the dollar, and a lot of that has to do with October 18th, which everybody is talking about. Let's see. Wednesday. This is the weekly chart. Weekly chart looks good. Closes in 4 days. Looks bullish. And again, I've been talking about this double bottom idea on the weekly chart because I think this is absolutely massive. So double bottom right here, neckline right here, and it looks like we broke it. Um, and so I was expecting a lot more upside, and so far we have seen more upside. And on that daily close, we've seen upside, and we've seen a massive candlestick wick. So everything looks good. But what is I'll get to the daily chart again to drive my point home. This would be a massive bullish engulfing candlestick like we already talked about on the monthly. Going back to the daily chart. So on the daily chart, you have this nice wick right here. You have this nice wick. So it's this. You see the red, and you're like, oh, this is bad because it's a red candlestick. But you see all this wick. That's signs of a reversal, and that's exactly what we had, is a giant reversal out of this wick. And on this wick right here, we set a low and we set a higher low. So this is actually a pretty bullish candlestick formation. So it looks good on the charts, is what I'm trying to say. And then a lot of people are saying that potentially, because this trend line, because the price action went out of this trend line, potentially it's not valid. Sometimes you have busted consolidation patterns, but that's just not the case right here. It's not the case at all. It looks good. It's just a freaking wick. It's not a big deal at all. And we'll go over the touch points really quick on the 15 minute because that's good. But what I was saying about the day before in that red candlestick, that just shows what's going on with the dollar, what's going on with the stock market, and potentially Bitcoin is tied to those. And so we really want to see what happens on October 18th to see going forward how Bitcoin's going to be doing, like going forward into October 18th. So today's the 13th, so we got 5 more days until the 18th. Let's see. So you got one touch point right there, one touch point right there, one touch point right there, one touch point right there. And we can adjust it a little bit. Another touch point right there. So there's a lot of touch points on this trend line. It's completely valid no matter how you draw it. This is definitely the way the price action is going. And sometimes you do get like little wicks. One of the guys in my training group, I was like, I thought you trusted me enough, but apparently, he's like, because I just showed him a little section, and it didn't have the touch points in it. So he's like, well, are you just drawing random lines? I'm like, obviously I know how to draw a trend line, and this has plenty of touch points, but just to show, yeah, you got touch point, touch point, touch point, touch point, touch point, touch point. So this is a very valid trend line, and it's shown over time and time again that this is a really good place to look at. So essentially what we're looking at, let me draw a few things. We're essentially expecting price action to continue to bounce around in this consolidation pattern until it doesn't. Historically, these tend to break to the same side that the trend is going. So right now we're in a ginormous uptrend. So these ascending triangles tend to break out in the same side that the trend's going. Trend's an uptrend, so most likely this is going to break to the upside. Very bullish. So anyways, that's what we're looking at right there. That's a quick market update. If you want more market updates, because there's really what we're looking at, the biggest thing that we're looking at right now is October 18th, because it's shown that it can move the markets, because it affects the DXY, which in turn affects the stock market and the crypto markets. So right now we're waiting to see what happens on October 18th. That's the big thing. And what I've gathered is that nobody really knows what's going to happen on October 18th. Most likely, they're going to print their way out of it, but we just have to see. But if you want to continue to be updated on the markets, like I said, right now looks pretty good. We're in this consolidation pattern. If something happens with the DXY tomorrow again, potentially that could be bad or good, just depending on what happens with that. That's my main focus right now. That's everybody's main focus right now, and that's why there's so much volatility in the market. But yeah, sub to the channel, like the video, and freaking yeah, just sub to the channel if you want more updates on what's going on. Right now, that's the story. I could go into more. I could show you more charts, but you don't really need to know anymore, because that's really the main focus right now. Because no matter what happens with the charts, it's shown time and time again that right now everybody's focused on the DXY, and that's what's causing so much market volatility.